Okay, part two. This is going to be geared more towards the detailer. Okay, and what I want to show you. Now we're looking at a wheel, the same wheel that I used in one of the segments of this video, or in part one. This is on my wife's Mercedes-Benz. Now you'll notice that we have the face of the wheel, which is relatively clean. It's actually been a few days since it was cleaned, so there's some brake dust on it yet again. But you'll notice on the inside it's dirty. Okay, so as a detailer, this is where you have to understand the difference between perfection and profitability. So there's certain areas of the car that can make or break your world. The wheels is one of them. The trunk can be another one, because when people take their cars to the car wash, rarely do the car wash guys vacuum the trunk. So you could roll up to a car that you're going to detail. You made the appointment, you roll up to it and you think, oh, not too bad. And then suddenly you find like these booby traps. One of them is the wheels. One of them could be the center console or the glove compartment or the trunk, because those places are never touched. So I just want to address the wheels right now, because I prefer, if I'm going to do a detail job, I want to detail the inside of that wheel barrel, especially on factory clear coated silver painted wheels like the one on the Mercedes or the Range Rover, in which we saw in part one, because you can really tell that that car has truly been detailed. But it becomes unrealistic on many cars if Johnny customer has never had the wheel barrels detailed out before and cleaned from all that brake dust, and now you show up and you've communicated to the customer, or you've suggested to the customer that my detail, and if you hire me, it's all inclusive, which means I'm basically going to spend whatever time it takes to make your car perfect. Okay, well, that's one of the quickest ways to failure as a business owner, because it's unrealistic. You will not make a profit doing that. You've got to manage your expectations, and you start by creating your detailing menu. Now, you may not have a website, you may not have a postcard or anything, so someone may not even have the ability to look at a menu that you have not created. You may be just having a verbal conversation on the phone or in person. So you've got to make sure that you manage your expectations right out of the gate by what you say and what you don't say. So a detail should never be an all-inclusive, completely comprehensive detail package, so that you suggest that, hey, Mr. Customer, when I'm done, your car is going to be perfect, because that's not how it goes. It's unrealistic. So wheels is an area that could break your world, because some people will expect, if they have a clue, they'll expect the inside of the wheels to be detailed. But if they've never had it done, or it's been a year or 2 or 3 since they've had it done, guess what? A, you may not be able to clean it completely. B, you may think you can, and you start cleaning it, only to find that, oh wow, this is a nightmare. It's going to take me like an hour and a half to literally detail these wheels to perfection, but you don't have the budget for it because the customer's not paying for it. It would be the equivalent of the customer waltzing into McDonald's and ordering a 59-cent hamburger, but now you want to deliver them a Big Mac. Okay? Well, guess what? You didn't pay for a Big Mac. You just paid for a regular 59-cent hamburger. Okay? So that's where you've got to be realistic as far as the car and how you talk to people, how you present yourself to people. So what I do is, on my website, it's listed out very specifically what I'm going to cover for this price, and every detail package or level of service has a $50 window. That allows me some wiggle room. So when I get out to a car like this, and I've quoted this customer, like on my website, this is a white sedan, I would have quoted between $250 and $300. And I get out there and I look at the wheels and I say, oh wow, okay, when was the last time you had this car detailed? And Johnny customer says, oh, it's been about a year. Okay, That's where I dig in and I ask questions. But the reality is I've actually already done most of this on the phone. I've asked why they're getting it detailed, when was the last time, who they have used in the past that they have. Now, I don't ask them specifically about the wheels because that's where that $50 window comes in. Because the reality is you don't know what a customer values. And since it's not an all for any, how do I word that? You're not there to literally make this car perfect unless they're paying for perfection. Most people are not willing to pay for perfection. So every area of the car is going to represent kind of a gray area. Okay, what's acceptable, what's good, what's better, what's perfect. Okay, so this wheel, for example, are you going to detail the inside of the barrel? Well, A, are you charging them for it? Is it even possible? And thirdly, is it appropriate? So what I mean by appropriate is, hey, Johnny customer, are you willing to spend the money, which is part of the detail that I quoted you, to have me spend the time in order to detail out the inside of that wheel? Okay? Because it will require me some time, even if you accept that it can be done. So that's where you have to ask them. For most people, they're going to say, well, I don't know. What do you think, Darren? It's like, well, have you ever had it done? No, I haven't. Are you willing to keep it clean moving forward? Well, I don't think so. Well, then maybe you would prefer that if I spent the time that it would require in order to detail out that wheel, maybe you'd prefer to have me spend it elsewhere on an area or part of your car that you think is more critical, like the inside of the car, maybe the trunk, whatever. But that's where you have to manage the expectations. And this is one of those areas of car detailing that a lot of detailers take pride in, myself included, and they want to detail out that wheel. But you've got to ask yourself some questions, is like, okay, can I do it? And unfortunately, you won't know until you know. And what I mean by that is, as a rule, I know that if the inside of that wheel has not been detailed for about a year, that's kind of that that's kind of that tipping moment where I'm hesitant to take on that task of cleaning that wheel, because there is no magic formula or chemical that you're just going to spray on and use one of those tools and it's going to clean that brake dust completely, unless that car is under 6 months old or it has been done regularly. So between different scrub pads and so forth, you may be able to get it completely clean, but you won't know that until you're doing it, because brake dust eventually will become permanent on the inside of that wheel. So you've got to ask that before you either guide your customer in that direction or you guide the customer away from that direction. And that's where I put it back onto them. So when I roll out onto a car and I've already asked the questions that I normally ask on the phone and I see the wheel, because I know the last thing I want is to finish the job and not have detailed the inside of the wheels, because I know I can't get them completely clean because it's been too long and Johnny customer's just not paying enough to have me do that level of service. And they waltz out and suddenly they say, oh, hey Darren, are you not going to clean the inside of the wheels? It's like, what? You know, I don't want that. So I'm going to handle that right at the beginning, because that is an area. It's kind of like the trunk. Open up the trunk of the next car you do. It could be an absolute nightmare. So this is where you have to break it down as a professional and assess what you're getting yourself into as much as you can on the phone or in person. And then when you see the car in person, that's when you can assess even tighter, and now you can begin to guide them in the direction that works for both of you. Okay, Mr. Customer, I notice your wheels are pretty filthy. Doesn't look like anyone's been detailing the inside of them. I like to do that, but it may not be appropriate because your car is pretty dirty. And what I quoted you, I'm going to deliver a great job for you, but I could spend an hour on those wheels alone. Now, if I spend an hour on those wheels, you know what that means? That means that's going to be time and effort that I'm not going to be able to dedicate to another part of your car that you may find more important to you. Because I could literally spend a week on your car and just make it absolutely perfect. But I found that most people are not willing to pay me to spend a week on their car, especially not for a daily driver. Are you willing to pay to hire me for a week? Well, of course not, Darren. That's ridiculous. Exactly. So as a detailer, I got to pick and choose, right? Well, I want to make sure I over deliver for you and provide a good service for you. So I need to figure out what you value as a car owner and as a customer. And you will value things different than the next customer of mine. So the wheels. Do you want me to spend the time detailing the inside of the wheels when I could be spending it in other areas that need just as much attention as those wheels do? Because are you going to keep those wheels clean moving forward? No, I don't think I am. Okay, so if I clean the face of them, then likely that would work for you, correct? Yeah, that's all they ever clean anyways. Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure we're clear on that. And I make sure that I spend the time in ways that delivers as much as possible to you, my customer, and in a way that you value the most. So that's essentially how I have a conversation with people. You can adjust it, use your own words, whatever, but I just want you to know that wheels is one of those areas. And also I'll add, not once have I ever had a customer ask me what type of wheel cleaner I use. Is it acid base? Is it pH balance? Is it pH neutral? There's so much BS in the industry, and the manufacturers love to use these headlines and these little taglines to sell more and more profit or more and more product to an ignorant consumer base. And that's one of the ways they do it. They label their products as pH neutral or pH balance or whatever. In many ways, they might as well just say, oh, here's our effective car wheel cleaner that really is just a glorified all-purpose cleaner, but really it has no chemical in it that's actually going to react chemically to the brake dust and get it really, really clean. Okay, so they're never going to do that, but they're going to label it as like pH balance, pH neutral, safe for factory clear-coated wheels, because we all want to be safe, right? Well, guess what? This stuff is safe. Anyhow, so I think I've said enough.